I'm Nathan from the Tuesday Review, joined by James as well from the Tuesday Review. We're lucky enough to have an interview with Allard from Jackbox Games.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Is this your first PAX here in person?
No, actually I've come a number of times over the years. There was sort of a gap, obviously, for the past few years. But I think I came in 2016, 2017.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even 2018.
So you're not a stranger?
Not a stranger. Love Melbourne. Love this neighborhood. I know this neighborhood very well. I've walked it many times. Looking for food.
There is good food here.
Yeah.
So I guess before we get sort of really, deep into discussion about Jackbox and everything you're doing now, do you want to explain or give a brief rundown to our audience who may not be aware, what is Jackbox?
So Jackbox is basically almost a virtual board game company where you use your phone as a controller to play our games. So we have done a lot of work to try to reduce the friction of being able to jump into a game. If someone's playing a Jackbox game at a party, all you need to do is go to jackbox.tv, put in a room code, and you're in the game that your friends are playing. So yeah, super simple, highly accessible.
Yeah. I think you've been around a long time. The company's been around a long time.
Yes, I've been around a long time.
So what in your view keeps people coming back to Jackbox? How do you make it, feel fresh?
So Jackbox, for me, even as someone who works there, is always kind of different every day. Even though it's a familiar format, but it's the content and it's what players put into the games that feel different every time. Because we, use what we call like UGC or user-generated content a lot in our games, which means anytime you play with somebody, it may be a different experience depending on who they are, how they're feeling that day. It's whatever the game kind of asks of you. You put it into it, and hopefully it gives it back, tenfold. That's the goal. So,
have you found in the last, because I think we've been playing Jackbox a long time, over maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
And over those years, I'm assuming the sort of party game, mini game, mobile, connected party game environment has changed a lot. Have you noticed any, everyone blowing up and trying to compete? Has that changed the way you think about?
Let's see. Now, just so I can rephrase.
Yeah.
You're saying has the gamer population changed in terms of how they play it, or have we changed how we design?
Both.
So yes. No, I would say if you even compare old You Don't Know Jack games, I don't know if you guys played those.
Yeah.
There's definitely a shift in terms of the type of humor, the edginess of the humor from the older You Don't Know Jacks. And that's just because culture has changed quite a bit. But gameplay and design, at the heart of it, there's something very similar about the old You Don't Know Jacks and modern Jackbox games, because it's in itself a presentation game in a sense. We are not doing a lot of fancy graphics, but it's all about the audible words that you hear. It's about the content of the games, and what I'd say is it's about the human connection as you're playing. So techniques might change. The technology might be more interesting, or there might be more novelty in some of the things that we might do. But at the heart of it, it's still kind of people connecting over stupid ideas.
Yeah. You're facilitating a place for people to interact and use their imagination and try to trick and ruin friendships.
I mean, when we evaluate games to put in a pack, we really listen as much as we watch in terms of how people are interacting. Are they laughing? Are they yelling? We want something to happen in terms of that interaction, and that helps us kind of determine okay, we understand what kind of game this is going to be, who might be playing it, and as you know, with a Jackbox Party Pack, there's different kinds of games in the pack, and some appeal to some people and some appeal to others. Not everyone's going to agree on their favorite game, and that's okay, because that's what makes it a pack of different games.
And the rounds are short, so if you don't...
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. We have to keep this super light and accessible.
Yeah.
Because in a party situation, there are board games that you sit down and you play for days, you know, or campaigns you play in D&D. That's not really where we are, where we play. We're playing like, hey, the TV's on, jump in, let's have some laughs, let's have a cocktail, you know, and enjoy ourselves. And it's low friction from just signing in to actually understanding what the rule set is. You don't want to have to explain too much.
Yeah. In terms of like the people element or the audience element, I think the new game you're showing is Survey Scramble. Is that what it's
Survey
called?
Scramble, yeah.
Yeah. So that obviously has a large people element, unpredictable element of people send in their answers.
Right.
And then kind of like a Family Feud situation, you pick which one you
Right.
think is the best or has the most options. How do you facilitate that? Like, is it updated constantly? Is the surveys always going
that's the kind
out?
of cool thing about Survey Scramble. So we've created a dynamic database that is really region-centric. So what people in America might be thinking about what might constitute as like the best thing to have on your T-shirt might be completely different than what you might have in Australia. So we're actually going to be regionally kind of tweaking it based on the input from that area of the world. And it will also be curated, so anything that's like kind of deemed unsavory and things like that aren't going to populate it, so it's going to be safe to play.
Yeah. In terms of the technology, how it's changed over time, obviously the back end, putting all that stuff in would be so hard. Is there any games that, like ideas you've come up with and the technology is just not there yet, or just the idea maybe just couldn't work?
Sometimes we have a lot of ideas, and I always say we got a million ideas, but it's really the execution that really makes an idea work. That said, we've had some really great executions, but there's been things like, legally we can't do that because of copyright issues. If we want to do a sort of karaoke game, all of a sudden you open up a can of worms in terms of like what you can license. For Dodo Re Mi, we ended up doing a lot of public domain work, and we kind of reorchestrated, rescored it in our own way, which made it a lot of fun. But there are some games that, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Games that we wish we could do but can't. Like I said, we had some games that we wanted to do for a long time, but because of copyright issues and whatnot, it just would make it burdensome to do. But we've not really ever said no to a game other than it's just not fun,
So you found a way to do everything within reason.
Yeah, and there's some technological things. Like we had sort of a video recording game that was pitched to us a long time ago, and it would just be prohibitively expensive with servers and whatnot to, record people on video and whatnot, and not all phones are going to behave properly with that. Recording audio is a little bit different, so that's something that we're definitely looking for. Those are all sort of novelty ideas, and it really depends on how to best use those ideas. Like we've seen a lot of like, hey, you could dub this video and inject your own voice into this thing. That's cool, but unless you're going to put some interesting gameplay into it, it's not going to get greenlit.
Yeah.
So.
If you have one, what is your favorite minigame out of all of the Jackbox games?
It's a question I've had before, and it's always stumped me. But I would say Champed Up is maybe one of my favorite games. Before that was Drawful, but I went to art school, so I like to draw. But I'm also kind of bad at Drawful because I went to art school. So it's a nice struggle.
I think that's also an unfair question because it probably changes all the time what you're vibing.
Yeah.
I think ours is generally Fibbage. and Drawful, but we're terrible at art. So
I'd also
I like
say I don't-
Drawful in theory.
I don't think I've laughed as hard as in any game as Faking It. Faking It, I've like it's sort of that guilty laugh, which is when you feel like you're caught and you're laughing, and it's not like terrible, but it's still hilarious. Like that you just held up, 4 fingers for how many steaks you eat a week. Like it's hilarious.
I guess, look, similarly to a previous question, what is one idea, if technology was no barrier, what is your ultimate game? Like, if you could do absolutely anything and cost wasn't a factor, technology wasn't a factor, science fiction, essentially, what is the ultimate experience?
I'd like to see us do more multiplayer matching and things like that. I would like to see, literally, that's something that's kind of prohibitively expensive for us and server based, and that is something that we're thinking a lot about. And in terms of what could probably be, I do really want to do a karaoke game at some point. But that, again, we're kind of going back to the sort of copyright issues.
Licensing,
licensing and stuff like that. It's it was really expensive for Guitar Hero and those folks to be able to license that stuff. There's probably a reason you don't see a lot of those games anymore. But I would love to be able to do more with that, because I think that music really connects people, and I don't know. I like to fake sing.
So Survey Scramble is your upcoming title. Where can people see it? When can they experience it? What's its, I guess, its release schedule looking like at the moment?
The release schedule, I think for Australia, it's going to be October 25th. Releasing October 24th. You guys live in the future, you realize. I think it's, we're super excited about it. There's going to be an initial release of 4 different game modes, but there's also upcoming game modes that are coming out right away. And you'll also be able to experience it, I think, next week with the Next Fest demo that we're releasing. So
I saw some of it seems a bit strange, like there's Pong, Survey Pong, or something like that. I'm like, I was really intrigued.
We're calling it Bounce, not Pong.
Bounce, okay.
Again, another legal parameter. We also have a tic-tac-toe type of game too. We have, actually my favorite is just the simplest high-low, where you're trying to figure out what the top 10 is, but you're also trying to figure out what the bottom 10 is, which is hilarious. It's a really oddly engaging game because it's a top 10 list of single words. It's not just, phrases or people or whatnot. It's really kind of, it brings out a lot of funny ideas.
Excellent. I reckon that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Allard, for joining us.
Cheers. Glad to be here.
Yes, Jackbox.tv, I guess.
Yeah, Jackbox.tv or jackboxgames.com. Find out more about Survey Scramble coming out soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yep, thank you so much.
It's Allard.
Allard.
Yeah. So in Australia, it'd be Allard.
Allard.
Allard. So I used to live in England as a kid, and my friends would always make fun of me. They'd be like, Allard, try and say it in sort of an American way, but it's actually a Dutch name originally. So I was born in Holland, and in Holland they say Allard. Allard.
We're not going to try. We'll just say Allard.
Allard's good.
Take us in.
Yeah.
Great.
Allard.
This is great.
Are you